Good morning, LinkedIn friends. Happy Sunday, July 27th, 2025. Time for another episode of Tech Stack Reimagined with our favorite tech stack, Imagineer. I'm pretty sure I called you that last week.
I believe so.
I'm gonna lean into it, I think. Nico, how you doing?
Doing well. Yeah, that's right. Imagineer. Um, doing good. A lot of different tools coming out this last week, and kind of interesting because obviously everything is going into a sort of like agent either setup or mode, if you will. A lot of features around agentic operations for different software. You've got Comet that just came out. OpenAI's announced that they're going to not only be working on a sort of agentic AI based operating system, but also an agent based browser. Opera just made its announcement for its agent based browser. And I'm sure that Chrome is going to be following suit. And all of this really means that the way in which you're going to interact with the web changes to the degree that I don't want to say like you don't go surf the web anymore. It's kind of like that though. With Comet, it's interesting because it's like having an extra person around while you're surfing through stuff. So you kind of you have like this extra resource that you can use to talk about the things that you're looking at or things that you've looked at over the last hour or research that you might be doing or whatever. And it can go do searches for you like while you're looking through something. It's really nice, but the degree of interactivity is still a little bit low. Now, OpenAI's agent, kind of the same thing. It can do stuff not necessarily to the degree that Comet can, but it's the same in that it's opening this virtual window. It's going and doing performing these virtual actions. I guess you could call it safe and sound. So for right now, I would say that Claude Anthropic is really the only platform that's willing to take that risk, which I'm kind of surprised at that they're the first ones to release an agentic platform for your PC, like open faced, meaning that you can now use Claude Desktop to actually control your PC. It is slow, very slow. That's why you're not going to hear me talk about it too much because it takes like, I don't know, it takes over a minute just for it to go find and open up Spotify and start playing a track, right? So it's not the greatest tool ever. We've used that by comparison to Comet, and you can see what that's like. By comparison to Tango and Tango automations, which so that's a really great example, right? Is Tango didn't really get there. They didn't go in the right direction, right? A lot of this technology is about being able to pivot when the right option comes along. That's something that we heard about at the summit that we were at. It's something that I continually hear about from experts and podcasts that I listen to. And the reason that being able to pivot is so vitally important is because it's really a matter of like first two in terms of whether or not you're like what amount of the lying share you're going to get depends on how fast you're going to get to that particular open market, right? And with AI, the markets are going to get saturated almost as fast as they can get created. But there's still going to be an abundance of markets that can be created. So it's just a matter, again, it's a matter of like how you want to, whether you want to get there first, how much of that marketplace you want to own, right? Even if you want to do it and you're waiting around, you're still going to be able to do it, but you're just, again, not going to be able to own as much of the market as you would have initially. Or maybe you're going to have to find a different niche that's part of that. Depends. But Yeah, one way or another, it's definitely a matter of, it used to be speed to lead, right? And now it's speed to market. And it's about like understanding and really like cultivating relationships within that market. So it's, you know, as opposed to trying to nail down every single person that walks, now you're actually trying to go get to know the community in which those people live, right? And you're trying to go become a part of that community, trying to become like, I don't know, like valuable to them, right? And so all that to say that like the way in which the people are going to interact changes now too. I've talked about it with several people that they have concerns, even like not just professional, even finance people, right? Because everybody's tied in together. It's not like it solely affects one market or another. Finance is equally as uh, revenues from B2B and from B2C companies as anybody else, right? Anybody else working and or owning them. So when it comes to our ability to manage how we work and manage what we're doing while we work, OpenAI making an agentic OS means me not having to do a lot on my PC in terms of like both opening software and going and surfing the web, which also means that if I'm using either OpenAI or Comet, or I'm sure Google's going to have one, right? That means that I'm no longer going through the pages either. I mean, I'm already not doing that while I'm using my AI because a lot of the time it's on web mode anyhow. So that being the case, these agents, these uh, you know, yeah, pretty much agents, um, they don't care about advertising in the same way that people do. They aren't emotionally triggered by certain colors or shapes or like placement of text or placement of imagery or anything like that. They just go after information, right? If you ask a a language model about value first AI, there's it's going to pull up Chris's stuff immediately and it'll pull up a YouTube video immediately. And that's because he owns the market. That's just the way it is. He owns the market and value first. Like if you look up value first, then you might see. So this is an exact this is such a perfect example of what I've been talking about this whole time. If Chris tried to go after everyone in value first, it would be a tough struggle. You go online and you type in value first, even with the dash in there, and it's a pretty big pool. You wouldn't think it was so big. There's a lot of stuff there because there's a lot of value, and then there's a lot of like value first, this, that, or the other. Now go type in value dash first, just like everybody else, even without the dash, go type in value first AI, see what happens. Chris, right up there, right at the top, right? Our daily shows right there. Why? We're on every day. Our content is the most relevant. Everything that we do is related to value first AI. We talk about it in the show. We talk about it all the time, 5 days a week, right? The content is relevant. So that's why you're going to find us. And we don't spend monies on SEO. We don't spend money. We haven't spent shit. We just record podcasts and post them and put them on a website, right? So like everything on the digital space that is value first AI is all tied to the same YouTube channel, to the same LinkedIn channels, to the same everywhere. You want to find us, that's all you got to do is type it in. Pretty soon, again, guys, Google go into AI mode, right? That's what I'm saying. Like Google's going to be AI mode. So the number one browser in the world is about to ignore normal SEO pattern, right? It's like at least paid will go away after that. Like what you'll be like paid advertising, I guess. I don't know what it's necessarily going to be, but I guess it ends up being something that tries to, again, attract agents by offering content within the ad, I guess. I don't know. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know how that
like
works,
it's
right?
it's either going to be restricted to in-person, like only stuff,
Yeah.
um, or like learning how to speak the language of the agents. So we're starting to hear stories about how they create their own like languages inside of the interactions,
Mhm.
right? That's the part like I have no idea how that works. I can understand why it probably does because it's a trigger to say like here's where the value is. Like forget about all this other stuff, but based on our code that we now have together. Like if you see this, you know to assign it to this and it's going to be the fastest way to understand relevance and value related to that thing. Guess what? You're gonna have to let agents build the ads, like in order to achieve that, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I think like again, we come back to optimization versus transformation. And when you think about who's invested in Tango, HubSpot and Salesforce, like surprise, they're going at it in a very specific way, like to support CRMs and the way CRMs have always been.
Mhm.
And as we get into today's like agents thing, I was thinking earlier about just this world where software tools, even down to like Excel, right? The concept of like if there's an extra learning curve, like to get to the value, to get to the output, almost all of that, like I think you're going to be able to say like anything that's extra, especially when it comes to like certifications, accreditations, like if that's required to get value out of the thing, like no, just no.
Right.
Like if anything, we're going to use AI to do it, like to do the learning.
Yeah.
And right, and that's where I could share my screen here just to like remind people,
Hmm.
like your comment about how long it takes, right? When Claude is accessing the desktop,
Yeah.
right? Relevant in the way that we think about like software applications, like needing to work, like always input, output, this consistent exchange. If the human doesn't do anything, then no output should be expected. Um, but like once it's set up, right, which is our hurdle right now that we're going to talk about and see how far we can get with Claude. If it's set it and forget it, which truly, like this might be the first time we can actually like say that you can get to that endpoint because when the AI is learning and teaching itself and self-optimizing, like yeah, the human should back away from setup like as fast as we can.
Right.
But if that's working and you know it's working behind the scenes and you can go about your day, and in this case, we were talking to Aaron. I'm sad it was 2 months ago because I said on so watching a little bit of it today, and I was like, I'm gonna feel bad if I don't do this by tomorrow. Well, I haven't touched it until today, like 2 months ago. There's a reason for that that we'll talk about. But like if this is happening and you know it's happening, you get to the end of the day, and then you come back to it and you see the Slack message with the report of what happened that day. It doesn't matter if it got it done in the first 10 minutes of its day or it took the whole 8 hours.
Mhm.
Like as long as we got to be hands off. And I think that's where you definitely want to accept some of that. Because even in these agent like chat, what are they calling it? Chat GPT agents or something like that.
Yeah, it's just agent.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it takes time. And it's
It does.
probably about a tenth of the time that it would take you, but it's still time, right? It's
Yeah.
got to go to all the sites,
I mean, honestly, like, well, you saw what I ran. I have to edit the video today, 2 of them, so I can put them out there so you guys can see like what this stuff is like. But I know that most people go like, do the thing that Sam Altman like hates the most, and I know that Chris does too, which is like, hey, go book me, go book me a flight and go find me cheap tickets and book a flight to blah blah blah.
I don't hate
Um,
it. I just think it's like subliminal messaging at this point that like
yeah,
all the examples
are
relate
buying
to
stuff.
humans wanting to take vacations because guess what? Like we're gonna be taking a lot of vacation like real soon.
Right,
We're not gonna
right.
have jobs in the old way. So get used to going and figuring out how to spend your leisurely activity. Uh, so I'm sure that has nothing to do with why they choose these examples, but maybe.
I think so. I think it does. It's got something to do with it, right? Like, there's a reason why Visa was one of the first ones out the gate publicly, like promoting, "Hey, we have this program coming soon that's definitely gonna change the way that people do shopping because you won't even have to go anywhere. You just tell your phone, 'Hey, I want to buy this shit,' and it just goes and lines it up for you," right? Like, that's definitely the out of the gate, like, oh, we're starting with finance. We're not starting with here's something to organize your life for you, or whatever a better use case might be. Um, but yeah, I I'm not the one to do that. So I always, sort of push it to the limit with stuff. And so I sent it out to go do research about something, and then come back and build like a table of information about it, and then to like study its own result, and then to build that out into like a calendared version, and then to build a web application of that calendared version so that I could access it anytime. And it did. It took some time, uh, but it did actually do everything. I didn't give it like a web design specifications, so it just built out what it needed to like bare bones in order to complete the instruction. I'm very sure I could have gone much further with it, and it would have had no problem doing that. So it is. It's definitely at a case where, and I know that we're gonna look at N8N. It's it's at a point like it will surprise me if a platform like N8N doesn't have something like Zapier's AI builder real soon, right? Because that just makes sense. Like it if you were trying to get more people to use your platform, that makes the most sense to build something that can actually build your stuff out, right? In plain language. Um, I was
Yeah.
saying the same thing with Windsurf. That's taken off like there's no tomorrow. They actually ignored OpenAI's offer. I think they're going with Google or Apple, one of the two. Um, and yeah, that's also the going to be the new way of business. And like Imad was talking about, like there's going to be so many $1 million businesses, $1 billion businesses. What's his name? Jensen talks about how Nvidia is probably going to be one of the first companies to turn a $1 trillion ARR. Right? That company is like, let's see, what's the latest? I don't know.
Enjoy it while it lasts. Um, enjoy it while $1 trillion matters.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, so they're at 173 a share, which is 4.2 trillion dollar market cap. They were at 3 trillion market cap last year. Nvidia as a company is about to, and I said this, and people were like, "You're fucking nuts. That's not possible. Sounds like bullshit. This is where you've gone off the deep end." I was telling people when Jensen said that a while back, he said, like, "Hey, we're gonna see like $1 trillion companies. It's gonna happen." And then I started hearing experts say, like Sam and like Dario, yeah, you're going to start seeing the first like 2 and 3 person billionaire companies that they're going to be churning like billion ARR, and it's only going to be like a 5-man team. It's starting to happen, right? Not quite at the billionaire level yet, but it's starting to happen. It's definitely getting there, right? So now you see that Nvidia's at 4.23. What's the US government's GDP? 30.5, right? So pretty soon Nvidia will have what, close to, I'm not sure what the percentage is. I'm so horrible with math. It's not even funny. Close to 7%. It'll have about 7% of America's GDP. One company, right? And this is where, like, this is why the world changes so much, is because, and I'm not going to go on this too long because it's more of a soothsayer thing than it is a tech stack thing. But even what we will guard the most, I think we talked about this last time, like what we will safeguard the most is not going to be like gold, and it's not going to be banks, and it's not going to be farms. It's going to be data servers, data centers. Those are going to be the most important things, data centers and power plants. 2 most important resources pretty much from now on, right? We saw what happened in Spain, which was just, hate to say it, folks, that was just electromagnetic interference from the sun. It was just a little, whew, right? That'll happen again next year. So just that knocking them out for 3 days, it was practically bedlam in the first 24 hours, right? Until people were able to like tell them, hey, we'll get it back on in the next couple days. Like, don't freak out. It'll be all right. Okay. I can tell you from personal experience, when hurricanes hit in Florida, the number one thing that like sends people over the roof, not having power. And definitely like generators become the number one thing sold during that time period. So yeah, that, like, the world is just going to change in such a way that if you don't learn this stuff, even Sam was talking about the fact that like that Theo Vaughn interview was actually really, really great. Just in that Theo asked a lot of the questions that I like that I don't get asked myself, but like I hear a lot of people asking, either in like articles or online in comments, like all that kind of stuff. And Sam was able to give like some really just perfect answers to the questions. And Theo was asking about like monetary, like what happens to money, like what goes on in the future. And he kind of got it before Sam even had to ask. He was like, is it as a result of just using these things? Like, is that how it works? And when you think about it and step back, you are paid right now because you go to a singular source and you use that source's software resources in order to produce something for the rest of the world. It's not, even if you're working on spreadsheets, that rolls downhill, goes to the company, keeps rolling downhill. At the end of the day, you have contributed to the economy in some way, right? By working on software. Okay. Tech stack is about to change. You're only going to be working in one platform. You're not going to be working in multiple software suites. The end user is going to be in one platform. SaaS will still exist in the sense that it will be more agent driven. So like if you just develop a software platform and it has nothing to do with like AI, can't incorporate MCP in some way, it really is like just, your typical software that people use, you're shit out of luck, right? Like do something quickly, see if you can make it into the fold or you're out, right? Like you don't have a whole lot of time left. You got about 6 months, like 6 to 8, like 8 months is calling it nice. You got about 6 months. And I've been wrong before. And the way I've been wrong was that I guessed it was going to take too long. most of the shit that I've guessed about happened faster than I thought it was going to happen. There is nothing that I've guessed about that took longer. Nothing. Like even video. My guess on video was full sort of like Hollywood style shit by the end of this year. We already have half-hour videos. There was already a video put forward at Cannes. Like, get over it. This shit.
Yeah. It's really hard to find examples of somebody guessing in the too early, in the too soon direction too. Like,
right.
And that's where, like, when this is happening to foremost experts in the field, when they're all also getting surprised, like by how, it's like, there's no reason to expect a change in direction here. That's where, like, you combine that with understanding the building blocks for how this is working. Literally, unless there is some kind of infrastructural, like, we run out of chips and none are coming for like a year. Even there, like, it forces a different type of innovation that we've already seen from like DeepSeek to like, okay, these are the new constraints. We're still going to figure out how to move forward. And it's like, where there's a will, there's a way.
Yep.
And since it's always on, it takes the time that it needs to figure out those paths. And
yeah, I mean, I love that comment. Sam had made a comment about how GPT-5 was able to answer a question for him to somebody that he felt was just absolutely perfect in terms of the reply. And, it wasn't like Theo that said this. Somebody had, I'd posted it on LinkedIn and somebody had replied and said, yeah, but it seems like doing that would take away from their cognitive ability. Like if you, and I can understand that, like, I get it if you do it too much. If you say to yourself, because that's what it would take. So if you're a person that like uses this technology and you understand why you're using the technology and you're using it to better yourself, augment yourself, to do things better, there's not a snowball's chance in hell that you are consciously telling yourself, hey, you know what? I'm going to check out on the decision-making process and just let the AI handle that. Cause me tired think. You're not doing that, because if you were, you wouldn't already be using it to augment yourself and go better and do more things. The whole point is that it takes the minutia out, regardless of what you define the minutia to be. Does not matter. If it's that extra, question about quantitative math and you don't want to do it because it's that extra one, don't. The extra one is, some people might say it's that one that would have muscled up your brain and that's what would have blah, blah, blah. That's what you don't have to do now, right? Instead of focusing on the one thing, repetitively beating yourself on the one thing, maybe you had an interest in something else. And if only you didn't have to do this thing that you knew you could do, you just didn't want to do it right then, right? Okay, fine. It's like mowing the lawn. There's auto mowers now, just like a Roomba. Am I losing something by not mowing my lawn? No. I'm gaining the time back that I was going to spend mowing my lawn, right? Oh, yeah, but there's some fitness involved. I can take the time and go do real fitness. I can take the time and go build 2-3 platforms or something. It's like time is so worth, like the people who think that spending your time doing minutia things is actually worthwhile, you are putting way too much value, and I think honestly an artificial value, on something that really isn't that big a deal. Okay?
Yeah.
Like learning how
to,
I don't know.
I just finished listening to the 16 Laws of Communication from John. I'm so bad at this. And in it, he shared the story, and I'm looking up his name. John C. Maxwell at the end, he shared the story of a study that talked about regrets. And I'm not sure the sample size or whatever, but if it's in that book, then like consider it relevant and evidence backed. It was asking the question, like, you're at this point in your life and you look back, are the regrets worse for stuff you did and shouldn't have done or wish you wouldn't have done, or the stuff you wanted to do and never did? And it was 75% in favor of the stuff you wanted to do and never did, right?
Mhm.
And that's where, like, a super interesting piece of the show with Erin, after she had showed this workflow, we talk about hours, like saving 2 hours of activity after a meeting. In reality, the stuff just isn't getting done at all right now. She's not putting 2 hours in to do it all. It's it's just not happening. Meanwhile, there's a mental load because we know it's not happening. We know we're not leveraging opportunity. We know we are spending our time in less valuable ways. And there is a mental load that we cannot quantify right now. But when you start to get like real sci-fi and think about chips and stuff like that, like we will be able to quantify that value at some point.
Yep.
And the opportunity cost of not doing the thing is going to win out in most cases of avoiding that instead of avoiding risk, like, which is how we operate now, right?
Mhm.
It's like, oh, if I go and do that, then I risk not getting the lawn mowed. And uh and then what happens, like when somebody comes tomorrow and somebody's judging me for my lawn not being mowed and just all this bullshit, all these bullshit ways that we get ourselves to do the most administrative, low value things. Um, like it's no contest. Whereas if I spend that time, like an hour, like let's say doing content, educating a bunch of people, like the impact difference is just immense, right? But there's so many mowing the lawn like things that we do on a daily basis. It's 100% the reason salespeople only spend 30% of their time selling. Like all of these things where it's like, oh, I got to do it this way because this is how the infrastructure is built. Um, and this MCP at its heart is built to just like cut through like so much of that. Um, so I'm gonna share again. And so why am I back on this topic after 2 months of not doing anything? After Erin showed us how she'd save 40 hours a week, like with that flow. So only 4 days ago, I can't believe this was only 4 days ago. This post through some cool dudes. I'm not gonna try and pronounce their names here. Uh, did this person single-handedly just kill Clay, Zapier, and similar tools? He built a free tool that creates N8N workflows for you by prompting. It's
Yep.
lovable for N8N. I usually don't like when people on LinkedIn say that something got killed or is dead, but in this case, we are pretty close. Let me explain. He built an N8N MCP that allows you to use LLM to build N8N workflows for you. And update for me why I haven't done it and why I'm going to start doing it now is there was this barrier of, yeah, it looks easy. Erin's saying it's easy, but her skill set is completely different from mine. She is a
Right.
developer. She knows how to look at code and just make it work. Like, and I don't. Like, I've had enough experiences where I try to get as far as I can and then I can't finish the last mile. And it's like all for naught. Right. And all that is weighing on me in terms of this is another learning curve. Yeah, I could probably get it done, but it's going to take me a while. And just there's so many things that get in the way of me actually taking the first step. Right. Right now, like if you want to get me to use something, it's basically like the shortcut is show me how to do it, Claude. Like it's working like every time right now.
Right.
Right. In systems like project management software, like things that I don't like. I just don't like it. Like for all the reasons. Um, it's very hard to get myself into those spaces, even though obviously I could. I can use software. I know how to learn like how to create tasks and how to check them off and like all these different things. But there's a barrier, there's a learning curve barrier, right? I've learned a lot with cloud so far. So once you attach it to that, the learning curve gets cut in half is the mental feeling, the perception that I have, right? Um, so uh normally when using just an LLM to build end-to-end workflows, they can create many bugs. However, the MCP improves it, training it on N8N documentation and other resources, right? We've talked about this,
Hmm.
like not just starting from scratch everywhere.
Right.
Like, where do the resources, where have they already been applied? Where's the foundation already been built that we can then build on, right? That's what we're seeing here. And that leads to the result is just magic. You can go to his website and install it. It works with Claude Desktop, Claude Code, Windsurf, and Cursor. I used Claude Desktop, right, which is what we're going to try and use today. Um, there's a link here, right? And while I pull up Claude to do this on the screen, I would love for you to chat about this kind of motion because you also shared this Medium article about there's an understanding that getting agents, and let's put it in the business perspective. Like imagine just going and buying a marketing agency and calling that your new marketing department, right? And you need to do that because you don't have the resources, time, effort, knowledge, expertise to do the marketing well yourself, right? You could apply it to any kind of business function, but the reason you have to do that is because you need to get this thing done. If you try to do it yourself, it goes terribly, takes too long, you make mistakes. But also, like instead of buying the agency, you would have to hire people, like a director of marketing, and then that person would have to hire people. And these layers of sharing instructions, right, at each layer is very, it's the challenge of scale and growth of businesses, right? They literally have such a hard time going from the people who are invested in the business, subject matter expertise, the founders, and then getting other people to feel that and then execute in a similar way, right? Very hard for everybody.
Right.
Um, and that's how you got to view this. So we understand, like, yeah, if I could just plug in a marketing department right now that knew how to do videos and knew how to go viral and just all this stuff, right? People understand the value of just being able to plug that in. It's the same thing here, right? Like, how can I implement that kind of stuff that just starts happening in a successful way without me having to micromanage it,
Right.
right? So, when we started talking about this today, you shared this. Tell me,
Yeah.
give me your thoughts on like kind of the whole play in general that people are going for right now.
So what what I saw, of course, what I saw at the end of last year was this play towards like auto coding, right? Which started with Coda and thought that was going to go through Apple, but that they didn't really take off. And then you started seeing tools like Cursor, and that started getting a lot of attention and was working really, really well. You've got Claude Code, You've got OpenAI does not have a like indie coding agent yet, but O4 Mini High is also very, very good at coding. Even Grok 4, I think, has done really well with coding, even though I wouldn't use the external version. If you have access to a private version, I'd go that route. And then, of course, Google 2.5 Pro. But now you have, you know, you have codecs from, I say they don't have their own autocoder. You have codecs from OpenAI, but codecs is much more of a software engineer, right? Which is what if you've ever seen SWE-bench tests, SWE stands for software engineer. There is now, like, within Windsurf and I believe within Cursor, they are creating like SWE-bench models specifically. So Codex is kind of like that, and it's a bit insane because of the fact that you can quite literally assign multiple agents to different parts of your code base to look at specific issues and or fix specific issues. So where this all leads is just the fact that, I mean, there was that podcast too, like not too long ago, about one person who over time was able to pare down their agency, if you want to call it that, from, I think it was like initially, not that it was that massive. They were doing so much with AI already that I think their agency was maybe 6 or 7 people large. And then they were able to bring it down to, I think it's like 2. And now I think it's just him. So it's at the point that Sam was talking about, 2.5 years ago, when he said your average marketing agency is going to end up being just one person running it with a team of agents. And it definitely can be, right? You can use Lindy to do a bunch of your marketing for you with quite literally armies of agents. Now you're able to use OpenAI to do the same thing with their agentic platform. You're able to use those agents to go do research for you and come back and do additional work for you. They were showing how, like, oh yeah, and it can put decks together for you. Like, yeah, it could do that too. But it really does. It just changes the way in which we work, because you go from running the software yourself to running something else that runs the software for you. And your tech stack goes from being software based, which this is a huge, so like the reason that this shift is so amazing, your onboarding at a company goes from learning that company to just, you're in and here's your bot. Because why do you need anything else? Once your entire tech stack is run through one agent, that's all you need at that point in terms of getting stuff done. And especially if the agent is tuned to like what the person is like supposed to know how to do, it can walk them through stuff. Maybe you have a specific onboarding agent versus the ones that they are supposed to use for work, whatever it might be, right? But essentially, people go from being single operators to being managers. And the game very much changes, right? From, again, controlling just one interface system to controlling an entire network. It's honestly, I mean, it's something I've been looking forward to for quite some time, mainly because of the fact that even it's not very cost effective for me right now, but hopefully it will be soon. Again, I like to push things to as much of a limit as possible. And of course, if I can have multiple Replit agents going at the same time building software, I will. Like, that's awesome to me. There's no reason why you wouldn't. And if you're wondering, like, wow, well, how much software could you possibly build? I have a backlog already. I have a backlog. So plenty. Why? Because it's all based on ideas. So if you have an idea for something, even if it already exists, it probably doesn't exist in the way in which yours will, right? I was talking to my wife. She wants to do care packages for people with Alzheimer's and dementia. And she used AI to go do all the research on it and found out that, yeah, even though there are plenty of people in the market, there's no one in the market doing what she wants to do. So even though she's going to be in that same space, she will own 100% of her market because 100% of the people who are looking for what she is going to be offering can't find it. That's how easy it is. So she's going to start a business based on that, and she will own 100% of the marketplace out of the gate until a competitor can actually look over and see what she's doing and see if it's worth the time and effort or whatever for them to build it out. By then it'll be too late because her market will have been built more than likely off of the same, like this is the stuff that we're going to teach in workshops, but I'll throw it out there because it's unfortunate um how few people you can like pull to the water, but they just, I don't know, they won't drink it. um it's a thing of like, if you're doing the research to find your market, you should be doing your research on social channels, not on websites. Websites are for expertise, they're for data, they're for like that kind of stuff, right? And yeah, that kind of sounds like it's oxymoronic to what I'm saying if you're trying to find stats on stuff, except you're going to the wrong place for the stats. You're going to somebody else who pulled those stats together. Maybe they got paid by somebody to do it. Maybe they have an interest in something else to do it. You don't know. So you're just pulling shit together from other quote professionals who pulled shit together for you don't know what reason, and then they published it. So it's out there. Okay. The way in which you can use search now is you can narrow it down to just social channels. So tech stack wise, instead of doing these open-ended searches that are going to pull generic stats together and supposedly crunch hardcore numbers for you, now you can actually go search social channels and find out what the feedback is on social channels, and you can, I don't know, design a prompt that will pull back firmographic data based on psychographic information, right? So based on what these people are talking about, now you're going to be able to actually turn that into stats that you can then use to start building up your business. Oh yeah, and at the same time, you have searched the channels that you can then turn around and market to, and you don't even have to spend money because all you have to do is go to the social networks and the social groups, join them, and say, hey, here's this thing that I'm building, blah blah blah, if you're interested, check it out. And now you're going to start to build this cult like word of mouth following that is forever stronger than people that you could just straight up advertise to, right? And once you've built that as your base, then you can start doing like outward marketing if you really want to, right? But at least out the gate, without spending a dime on advertising, you can put together a business. I mean, like, I'm not even joking. If you wanted to get a business started, you could probably put a full on, like, pretty polished up business together in like a week and start marketing, especially if you have services. If what you're going to offer is services, you could probably do it in a week. If what you're offering is product, you could probably do it in a month. And this is stuff that like would have taken. I'll tell you this much. I was in I think I said this already, but I was in a talk not too long ago with other entrepreneurs and basically explaining to them like how how easy it is and how they should be using AI to further their businesses and further what it is that they do. And in that talk happened to be I was hosting it with another person who was in the software industry, and they had built up a software business. And they talked to me about how they started when they were 19. and they built up this business, and now they're where they're at, and it's, them and that person and like several other people that run the company. And when he said 19, I was like, oh, okay, that tells me exactly how long ago you started this business, which means that you started this business pre-AI. So now this next comment is going to hurt really bad because like he's going to know exactly how much it hurts. At the same time, though, the entrepreneurs are going to watch his reaction. This is what's going on in my head, and they'll understand in an instant how powerful this stuff is. So the question came around in terms of how do you find the value in using AI, and how do you find the value in with business and using AI? And I explained to them the perfect example, which is, hey, if you wanted to start a software business today, $20, like 20, $40 or something like that a month, and you have a software business. When this guy started, it was whatever it cost him to put the paperwork together, to go talk to the bank, to raise the money, to be able to go hire the people to work for him. And that probably set him back. I don't know, but I'm going to imagine. And when I threw out the numbers, he just nodded. So I was like, probably going to set you back close to $1 million in your first year. And he just kind of nodded at that. And it's like, there you go. You won't see black for who knows how long. Right. And he was saying, we struggled for years, but now we're doing great in revenue. You can start a software business today on whatever idea you have today. You can probably finish the software in less than a month. You can ship in less than 2 months, and you can start turning revenue that same month. For let's say you really pushed it, you might be able to have to spend $200, right? Cost this dude $1 million, will cost you 200. Even if you went ape shit, and I'm not even joking because I use this stuff, so I know how much it costs. But even if you went absolutely ape shit and you knew nothing about what you were doing, you might at most end up wasting $500. $500 to go turn around and churn and I don't know, pull whatever it might be, minimum 2, 3, 4K a month. I don't think it's a bad trade-off. Personally, I don't think that's so terrible.
Yeah. And just to put that in perspective, I'll share the progress that I've made in these last few minutes. But again, the context of where a lot of the money goes, like that $1 million, what was that? Likely people and tools. People and tools, right? And the cost to do business in a lot of places. And as soon as you hire an employee and start paying somebody, there's a whole new set of costs that you have to manage. Now, again, we're not suggesting that you try to do everything without humans. It's just now you have options that you haven't had before. And the fact that you can get super far without engaging any humans and then know exactly where to apply that effort when you do bring them in, right? That is a huge difference. And a huge, it's massively different figuring out how to go to market. When you were talking about that earlier, getting to market and being in the market, and it doesn't matter if you can see the opportunity, if you can't get to the market. What came to mind was Indiana Jones and all these myths about things just deep in the Amazon. It doesn't matter how much information you have, how strategic you are, how good your plan is. If you don't get there, you don't get the gold.
Yep.
And then once you're there, having to navigate how to get the gold is a whole nother layer.
Yep.
Right. Um, and so it's much more than like just being able to see the opportunity and then executing into it and building the product. Like if you don't know how to translate it into the market success, none of the other stuff matters, right? And so just imagine like so much of these nodes here are going to be represent either a human doing work or paying a subscription to a tool that is doing the work for you. And often the connection, all these lines are somebody entering data, triggering a workflow, like somebody doing a manual activity that costs money, right? We talked about the cost of this, and this is where it's like $200, even if you go ham and just do
Mhm.
everything out of here, right? The cost of N8N itself, like really cost effective, right? So, um, made some progress here in just like sharing with Claude the post first. Like one thing everybody underestimates, like I always want to make sure I'm aligned with Claude on what I'm trying to accomplish and understand its knowledge of the thing that we're trying to work with. So just assuming it knows everything about N8N and how everybody uses it and like no. It's like let's understand where we're at knowledge wise. I chose to do it inside of this, and this was a realization I had before like jumping on today. It's like I was gonna be like, okay, it'll be great to show like just go into Claude, like no project from scratch. Let's build up N8N. But that's not where the value is. Like at some point, you've built other foundational stuff. And the reality is I'm going to try and use N8N to support exactly what this specific project is trying to do.
Right.
And right, which here's the purpose statement of this project, right? Orchestrate multi-business portfolio growth, develop transformative methodologies, and multiply impact through strategic AI collaboration and community-driven knowledge systems. Right. So literally, like, why would I do this N8N thing anywhere else? Like it's designed for this, for enabling this. And this is the difference between I think you're getting at like traditional stuff. And I hear like every day right now, Chris, just focus on one thing. Like and crush it. Like just go that like you could be doing so much better. Like if you could just well, I can't, folks. Like my brain, not no.
I'm
Like I
working on
tried, right? And that's where it's like, unless I'm at a desk 9 to 5 and I don't have access to anything outside of that space during that time frame, I'm not going to be able to focus like in the traditional ways, right? So instead, can we lean into our interests and our motivation and develop that in a way where we can move forward in multiple ways? Because usually all the things are related to each other in some way, right? So it's kind of like building the whole, like a wider foundation, more surface area up all at the same time. So I've already got this project, got a bunch of documentation about, conveying your message, the HubSpot partner, work I'm doing with Profoundly, value first stuffs, how I operate, who I have to collaborate with on a daily basis, right? Continually building this out. So then I'm not starting from scratch. And even when I just say like I share the LinkedIn post. Like, what do you think of this post? Is the prompt. Right? This is a
Yeah.
great example. What makes this interesting? Ask for my take. Like, okay, uh, I'd like your help start doing this with you today. How can we get started? And this tag here is like in my instructions, I have different hats for Claude. It's chosen to wear the collaborator hat in this moment. There's like strategist, educator, Psychologist, I think, is one of them.
Mhm.
But it's like immediate setup steps, right? So this is what I would get if it was a separate chat outside of a project, right? And we've shown a couple of examples of that when I set up HubSpot and Google before it was a plugin, right? Then it goes, let's start with your use case, which I was going to get to, like at some point, right? What automation challenges are you facing right now? Looking at your 3 domain professional portfolio, I can imagine several high impact workflows for conveying your message, for profoundly, for value first collective, right? It
Mhm.
already knows where I want to play,
Right.
right? And um, and I love having that as a foundation, even if I'm not going to action off of it. Like that's if we were in a business right now, like this is where people go wrong, right? It's like, oh, let's just get out there. Let's just start, let's just build it. Let's just build the workflows and we'll figure out how it's gonna work on the fly. And like when you get a bunch of people doing that, like that's when you get misalignment in organizations and you start doing a lot of stuff that's not necessarily creating all the value it could be. Usually you're generating value. It's
Mhm.
just like when you bring it all together, like a lot of what Value First is right now, got a ton of people in the ecosystem creating valuable content, creating valuable knowledge, yet we cannot catch up to the HubSpot gap of the knowledge gap, right? Because we're all doing things in silos. And like what happens when we bring everybody in alignment and you just happen to be talking about the same stuff the same day and it's always experts. Won't go down that route right now, but um, just the ability to gain alignment, right? So I asked, uh, let's focus on getting the functionality first, and then we'll dive into the use case. But I don't want to just ignore the part that it nailed, right? Because we are going to come back to that.
Right.
But at some point, I would have had to confirm if it didn't show that. Like, do you understand why I want to use this and what it could be good for? Right? It already did that preemptively. So I'm like, okay, let's just take it to the basics though. Let's get it functioning first. Um, I shared the command line on the screen when I first had it up, right? So I did that. That was seconds. Um, Again, this is on the back of me doing this a few times with Claude, so I'm more comfortable just copy pasting in the command line and then seeing, yep, this is probably done. Uh, Then we go into step 2, configuration. Step 3, restart. So before I restart, I've run into some issues where it wasn't exactly the most up to date version, and I would have had to update it again. I would have had to say like update in the command line or something like that.
Mhm.
So I just screenshotted, said, hey, we're done here. Yeah. And it's like, yep, we're good. Step 2, configure. That's when I went off screen because I got some keys related to HubSpot and GitHub, like in the config file. Um, so I do that, then I restart. I say, hey, just restarted. How did I do? Uh, Not even like I know this is like seems like small, but like I don't have to instruct it exactly what to check and how to check it and how to confirm like UAT testing, right? Like
Yeah.
user acceptance testing.
Yeah.
I hate that stuff. I know exactly why it's important, but because when you're using human users, like you can't know what's in their minds when they're clicking on things and the way that they're going to progress. But it's like an extra thing that if you got to take the time to document it and make sure everybody's doing it. Yeah, I don't want to do any of that, right? So just like, hey, how do I do? Like assuming that it's going to know, like since it's told me up above, like yeah, we can test it after you do that. It tests it. Does a lot more than I was expecting, right? Like confirms that the MCP is working,
Mhm.
all these nodes. Uh, Not sure if there's like how the HubSpot nodes are involved. So I'm anxious to see that. Like I've got HubSpot in the config file. So is it kind of tying in the HubSpot MCP with the N8N MCP, or is it already making the connection between like I need to work with HubSpot, so it's highlighted that part of the N8N MCP we're gonna see. But then he's like, "What would you like to build first?" I'm like, "I think I need to create an N8N account." Yeah, it's like okay, yes, and this is where I wanted to get your take, because option one, N8N cloud, easiest to start. I'm gonna go there and do it. But we've got self-hosted, we've got cloud hosting. Help us help me understand the differences between like which one you'd want to go with here.
Well, you're going to want to go with option number one, like because if you don't know anything about setting up your own server and then hosting stuff on your own server, it's not difficult. I guess that's what's so crazy, right? Is that option two you can learn and set up probably within an hour. It's not impossible. Um, it just kind of depends on the level of hassle you want. So if you want less hassle, then yeah, you would go through N8N. Um, if you wanted to do it yourself, then you could host it yourself. And hosting locally with Docker basically just means that you're running the app locally as well, right? So like it assumes that you're not it assumes you're trying to build something. It doesn't necessarily assume that you're running externally. Because if you asked it like, hey, I'm building this as an external app for people to use, I mean, I suppose that Docker acts like a local server. Um, so that might be the case, but um, though that would be the difference between them, right? Is that like the first option is just going straight through the platform itself, which tends to be the easiest because you also have everything like built in, right? Everything's like built into the
Yeah,
interface that
this
way.
is what I like. Like, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like you're not having to worry about like because the hosting setup would be a
And
part of the
then this,
self-hosted method, right?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And because in the background context here, I checked to see if this was the computer actually had Docker. Because when I tried this with HubSpot MCP before the official one came out, I was I happened to be on my laptop trying to get it to work, and Claude was giving me all these different ways to try and get this one to work. And one of them was like, all right, let's try the Docker route. And I'm like, I don't know what that is, but whatever. Let's go to the website, download it, set it up. We did it. Uh, that was the time I think I got it to work for HubSpot, but couldn't get it to work for the Google. Um, but either way, it's not on this system. I'll just give you an idea of how like messy like I am digitally, right? It's on the laptop, right? So I've actually gone through the process of creating the space to do option two, but it wasn't successful. So it's like it's over here in another place, right?
Mm.
Um, uh, and then cloud hosting middle ground. What is how
So
is
that's
that?
if you wanted to if you let's say you have uh you've built something on your own, right? Then you can run it on somebody else's cloud server as opposed to so like you download NAN, but instead of putting it on your own web server, you would host it on AWS or some other third party server. So that's the thing. It's like either you want to me, it's very much the same as Replit, right? Like when you're building with Replit, you can build in Replit and then you can download your project and work on it there, or you can build outside of Replit and then bring it into Replit and work on it there. Um, and the difference, and then when you deploy, right, the differences are you can download it, deploy it to your own server and run it, or you can just do everything through Replit. So it's very much the same. It's like either you want to write it and put it all together and host it and deploy it like through that service, or you want to do like a half and half where you're writing it your own way and then you're deploying it through a server that you host, or you're going the third route, which is you're doing pretty much everything except for hosting it.
Okay. Yeah, this word is like a scary word for me right now. Like deploy. Often that's where the last
Deployment's not
mile.
bad.
That's where the last mile has fallen apart for me, because that means putting it into these other spaces that have their own way of working, and like if you don't know all the ins and outs. So I appreciate your and Claude's recommendation here. Let's start with the easy one and build and test, and then if you want to scale up, we can always migrate to self-hosting later. And then even in like not only can we build, but actually create and deploy them directly from Claude.
Right.
Like sign me up. Want to go sign up now? It takes about 2 minutes, then we can start. Yes, I do. Okay. So I'm gonna do that. Brings us here. Let's get started for free. Liking the branding. Select all. Let's try again. There we go. All right. And I'm gonna go through this process real quick.
Okay.
And I'll do my best not to feel bad about not having done this in the last 2 months as I do that. All those little things, I'm telling you folks. And even like, because I do a lot of HubSpot coaching, right? Like
Yep.
there's a different style of conversation. And I'm starting to like just not fear once you get to there's some kind of blocker, like whether people are using they're not wanting to use the system or they're not understanding, they're just not engaged. They find a way to slow things down that have like is counter to what they've said they want to do. Right. I just go after like this thing is creating anxiety for you. Like, yes, right.
Yep.
Like that conversation just immediately gets to the heart of the problem. That load, that anxiety load is just it's pervasive, right? And it gets in the way of so much. And when you're putting people in this place of always new systems, always new things to do, always new customers, it doesn't matter how good they are. Like it just adds a little bit of uncertainty here and there. And every little bit just adds up to be like, if I don't know how my day's going to go, like ever, it's really hard. Like some days are better than others, but
Yeah.
like it's the worst place to be in as a human being. Like our brains are literally trying everything in our power to not put us in that situation. And that's cognitive load. Like, and yeah, so just thought I'd
That's the
share
one
that.
thing that like people don't people don't understand. Like that's what you're getting out from under. It's not that like I don't know, people keep thinking that it's a matter of like, oh, you're going to like you're gonna you're just gonna ruin your critical thinking capabilities and it's not gonna be, you know, it's not gonna be worth anything because of that. And it's like, no, it's quite the opposite. So like this one person who said that, you know, oh well, they might be ruining their critical thinking by offloading uh questions to AI or what have you. And my immediate response was like, well, we'll think of something. Right? Like that's that's the thing. If I'm not having to think about that, I'm thinking about like if he's it's one of those things where I'm doing it because I have a greater issue at hand and I'd rather not spend it doing that thing, right? It's not a matter of, oh, well, I should do that thing because if I don't, then I'm going to miss out on, you know, blah, blah, blah. No, it's like, no, I have more important. How many times has anybody said I've got more important shit to do than sit around and answer questions all day? I don't know. I've heard it. Like I hear it all the time. So,
Yeah, we find ourselves doing that
yep.
every day. This is a new option I haven't seen on forums before. I was about to
Oh,
rail against the fact that this was my only option, marketing agency consultancy,
oh,
but now automation agency. I kind of like that one.
I love it.
So we're just gonna click that. I still don't think it captures everything I'm trying to do here, but which of these do you feel comfortable doing? Choose as many as you like. None of these. Can I
None of the
just
above.
click it? Yeah, I'm not choosing any of them. I'm not comfortable with them. Even if I am, and I just didn't know what it was talking about, that means I must not be. Because webhook, I've heard that before. Setting up API, like even there, like so many layers to all those things. So, how did I hear about N8N? Friend, word of mouth, of course. For me personally, and submit. All right, we're gonna skip that. Your workspace is ready. Your workspace is now online. I would recommend, if you were not doing this during a live show,
To do the quick start.
to watch this. There's also a version of this on the N8N MCP page that I'm probably going to check out after the show. But it looks like my only option is to start automating.
Oh, there's templates. There you go.
Here we go. So now come back to Claude. And now once you're in, go to settings, API, and generate API key. I will go back off screen while I do that.
Don't want nobody peeking.
What's been the closest thing you've done so far in terms of creating agents working with other agents?
The closest thing so far, I would say having multiple GPTs talking to each other, basically. So I've built an application where I really like the Nano model, 4.1 Nano. It handles a truckload and it does it so very quickly, and the data is nice. I have zero complaints about it. Now it's being used for a fairly simplified purpose, but basically the Nano model will go talk to a 4.0 model to go do a search for it, and it'll be a hard target, basically hard target search for it. Comes back and converses with a third model that is Claude driven, which is Sonnet, and then the Claude model sends the result back to 4.1 Nano, and it does a review before it sends back to me. So that's, and the reason that there's three different ones is because Claude is looking at the written output from it's basically taking the output from 4.0 mini and doing an analysis on it, and then giving a written output to 4.1 to review. Difference being that, again, to me, different models and even different variations of the models are like talking to different people and the way in which those different people think. So talking to like OpenAI 4.0 to me is different than 04, 04 mini high, 03 or 03 pro or 4.1. They all think differently about problems, and you can test it by giving the same prompt to all of them, and you'll see exactly how they think in that different way. Especially if you do it multiple times, you'll start to see the thought pattern. Claude is the same thing, right? Gemini is the same thing. Those are even more so because now we're in different people who think a different way, not just, the same person that thinks a different way. So difference being like all people from one particular culture, right? Thinking groupthink, basically. But within there's like some slight variation versus, totally different groups, right? And Claude is just really better at handling both writing and a little bit, I wouldn't say it's better at comprehension, but it's much better at taking data and turning it into written expletive. so that you can actually use it elsewhere instead of just having it be this like summarization from GPT, which is usually what you get as an output, and it's usually not written. I don't know. It's written in a digestible format, but I just like the way that Claude does the actual explanation of stuff, I guess. I don't know. So the crux of it is the three of them work together in order to deliver a much better product. And the reason that there's three of them instead of just one of them doing the whole thing is, again, they think differently about it. They handle things differently. And each of them are programmatically different on the back end in terms of their instructions and how they're supposed to handle things based on their instructions. If you have the same model doing like multiple tasks, it's not necessarily a bad thing, assuming that you want the same person doing the same task, like, or multiple aspects of that same task, right? That's the way I would look at it. Is if you want I wouldn't even say a consistent output. I mean, you could do it that way, but again, you can put any model on the tail end of whatever chain that you're creating. I would just say if you understand the way in which the model thinks and you like how it handles problems in that way, then use that model, right, as the driver. Otherwise, if you're doing something that's multifaceted, then just take some time to understand how the different models handle different problems. Like, if you had to do a search, right, I would just go to Perplexity straight out the gate because it is a search-based AI model. It's not meant to have chat with you. It's meant to be extremely good at search. If I'm doing something processing wise, I'm probably going to use like either O4 Mini. If I'm creating stuff, I'm probably using 4.1 Nano. Like, it's a whole mix of things. So there's I wouldn't say there's like a particular app that I can grant access to yet that people can see this with. But soon you'll definitely see something that's nicely orchestrated, let's say. Still on the API key?
Yep, I'm gonna share as soon as I finish this step.
Oh, okay. I was wondering if it was taking too long to set up based on Claude's description to you about like how long it would take or whatever.
No. So let me see here. Settings. Like a natural step got in the way. So I gave Claude a couple screens.
Mm-hmm.
After it gave me the instruction, just go to settings, API, and generate API key. Like, not seeing that. Can you do a quick web search to confirm how to do it based on these screens? Right. At this point, I'm pretty sure it's because I have a free account.
Got it.
So lo and behold, based on search results, and it in cloud API access requires a paid plan, not available on the free tier. So I just upgraded. It is actually now $24 a month. Now I'm still looking for, let's see. So it actually suggested that I go with option 2. But I really don't want to do a lot of work without knowing that the connection between Claude through the MCP to N8N is working. Because I've done that a lot in terms of creating a bunch of documentation, like website designs, like all this stuff inside of Claude. And the bridge, I need the bridge to be there, or else I can't create value with it. And if it's not there through Claude, then it's me, right?
Yeah.
And that's the part that, like, depending on the day, I might be in it for 6 hours and actually like something happens. But that's the whole reason for wanting this to work like in the way that we're trying to get today. So, um, okay. So when I was first here, like this was grayed out.
Yeah. So now you
And
have a workspace in there.
I just needed to refresh it, apparently, which sometimes that happens. So we're going to go back into my instance. And it said settings. And there's the option that was not there when I was free. So makes sense. This is how you get charged.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to use it, so now I'll go here and create this API key.
And I'm actually setting up something similar. Well, setting up something for myself because it actually does have a AI assistant built into it naturally. See, and that's the thing, right? Is like if you're building software or you're whatever, if you're in the software business currently, I hate to say it, but like in terms of partners and partnership and stuff like that, few things are going away pretty quickly. And it's not because like it's because the difficult things are being made easy, and that's the way it's supposed to be. Audits are going to go away because it's going to be way too easy to do that soon, right? Either with deep research or like through some type of connector, MCP through some type of like Claude through some type of connector. Well, I mean, assuming they ever open up the bandwidth, it's so tight right now. I ran 2 Opus queries yesterday and it was done. It was like, I give up for 4 hours, come back in 4 hours. I was like, wow, all right. I think I can just cancel my Claude subscription. I'll be all right. So I'm back on that boat. Like I'm just at this point, it's doing party tricks for me, right? Like just in terms of us working together, it's not. I've gotten over it. Like we've definitely, we've patched up and mended our relationship with each other, but it's just not going to go any further right now, right? I think we just need a little bit of time apart, and maybe we'll discover the magic again later down the road. But right now, it is GPT and me, and definitely a lot of Gemini. And I'm finding insane uses with both of them that I really wasn't paying attention to before because I was kind of like tunnel visioned on Claude. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. Like, again, I still use some aspects of Anthropic. So, like, I use Claude Code, but I just don't like the regular interface because I don't know. Like, we don't get along the same way that we used to. That's the best way that I can put it. I don't know any other way of expressing it. We just don't jam together like we did before. So it just kind of moved on. And it's real odd to me because GPT has never really acted like that. Like I've always had a pretty steady, static relationship with GPT where like its sort of attitude towards me doesn't change. I don't likewise don't change my attitude towards it. But yeah, Claude is definitely, I don't know. All right, it's fine. Like it's one of those things where like I don't have to use them all. But it was nice to use it for some things. I don't know. Projects, got to be really cool in the end. But again, if you're bandwidth limiting, then projects are not as cool as they should be, right? And I'm starting again, like because I let go of that, I'm now playing with Gemini Gems, and oh boy, you can bring your entire fucking code base into Gemini. Yeah. Yeah. You can link your GitHub to Gemini, and it has 2 million context window topics. So you can have that thing review your code base real nice. It is definitely amazing to have that level of developer sort of over your shoulder, being able to look at every file change you're about to make, to be able to tell you like what the ripple effects of that are, where to go look for it, how to avoid it, and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's honestly amazing. The only thing that throws me is like, I guess because OpenAI has Codex, they feel like they don't have to have something like that, but they do have GitHub through deep research. So it's just really odd to me, like their approach towards helping people with coding compared to everybody else, right? Like, and I don't really, I guess the thing that like miffed me was like, wow, why isn't there a goddamn GitHub import with fucking GPT? Like, everybody else has one, but the only thing they have it for is deep research. And it's not that it's not useful to me, but man, I'm not waiting 15 minutes to figure out why something's broken, right? Like, Gemini can tell me in 2 seconds. So yeah, at the end of the day, so like, that to me is why assessments are going away. You can even in Gemini, you can do stuff based off Google Drive folder. You can do stuff based off folder in general. It's kind of crazy. I thought there was like stupid limitations to gems, so I wasn't really paying attention to them. But then when I figured out that there are no limitations to gems, they kind of destroy everything out there. And I hate to say it, like, I really wish, you guys, if I could get you a public version of a gem of HubSpot Harry, you would never use another HubSpot tool. Like, for I don't know, for whatever you're using Harry for now, it would be like 100x. Like, that much more accurate, that much more useful, that much more powerful. And I'm not joking. Like, don't get me wrong, I still tune up the GPT all the time. And I got to tell you, the Gemini is kind of helping me tune up the GPT, because it's actually finding issues with the GPT because its code base is on GitHub. So Gemini is looking at Harry's code base from GitHub, and he's like, well, if you tweak this thing here a little bit, if you change the way you're wording this, not so bad. And it really does work. I get feedback from people on Slack. I get feedback on LinkedIn, and it goes into my developing partners, and they help me to figure out what and where I need to change. And where you guys might be saying like, oh, well, so you're just cheating because you just blah, 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 like copy, paste. No, I am like myself. I don't speak for everybody else, but myself, the reason that I'm like where I am with this stuff is because like I have that kind of like Sherlock Holmes brain where I have to know if something does a certain thing, I have to know why it does that thing and how it did it, right? So if I'm using Gemini and these other guys to help me solve a problem, I'm also looking at like, hey, one of my chief instructions to Claude when it comes to Claude code is you have to tell me why you're doing what you're doing. So part of the answer that I read every single output is, hey, here's why I'm making this update to the code, so that I can learn like, oh, this is what that affects. This is what that does. I now have a better understanding of what exports look like in Node. I have an understanding of what imports look like and how the two of them relate to each other, and how server files relate and work in relation to utility files, in relation to component files. I didn't know any of that shit a week ago. A week ago, I didn't know any of that. Now, I'm not saying I'm an expert at that stuff, but like, that's how fast the education happens. If you're curious about building stuff, like, I forget, it was the CEO from Anthropic, not Dario or Daniela, but the other guy, because that narrows it down. And when it came to, like, how can you better yourself in learning all this stuff, and how can you better yourself in your skill level, his answer was the same as mine, which is basically like, be curious again. learn how to be curious again. Put yourself back into being 5 years old and ask all of the questions that you wish you could have gotten answers to. And that's very much what it's like. Really, it's very much like, oh man, I wonder how this is done. I'm not even joking. Like, I used to Google stuff, but it's only so much. Like, you Google it, you got to look at 5-6 sources, then you got to come back with the answer, blah, blah, blah. I do it all the time now. I perplexity shit all the time. Every time I'm like, wonder how that works. Boom, perplexity. Now I figured out how it works. I don't know any way in which you could fucking learn faster than that. I really don't. Teachers, just get out of the way of having to constrain, right? Just go back to the Socratic method of teaching, of education, where asking questions is the best way. I mean, to me, teaching should be that your kids come into class every day and, we'll go around. Everybody ask a question. Doesn't even matter what it's about. Just everybody ask a question about the world, right? Okay, blah, blah, blah. We'll go around. Let's vote. Timmy's question the best? All right, cool. We're going to spend today talking about Timmy's question. And if we get that figured out and answered, then we'll move on to so-and-so's, right? That should be the curriculum. And you just, okay, we've answered that kid's question and you do the rotation. But that should be the curriculum, that you're answering these questions about life, about real life, about how real life works. Because otherwise you get out of school and all you know is the stuff in the books, which is like, yeah, history happened and here's some math stuff and here's, chemistry. Man, I got to tell you, I wish, like, outside of, some real basic stuff, I don't do anything with Bunsen burners, beakers. Like, I don't measure stuff out in milliliters. You know what I mean? Like, most of that class pretty much out the window. Physics, awesome. Love it. I love learning about physics, love learning about astrophysics, love learning about quantum mechanics. Don't know anything about math, so I know I'm not going that far in those things, but I still love learning about them, right? That's something that, man, if I maybe in high school, if somebody had talked to me about that instead of shoving chemistry in front of my face, I might have been more interested. And it still would have been a scientific endeavor. It just wouldn't have been in chemistry, right? Point being that, like, you go through school so early on, like, whatever, you waste 18 years of your life with education that for most people is only applicable to go to college. It's not even applicable if you finish high school. It used to be the case that we had trades in high school and that you could at least, quite literally, learn a job in high school. You should be able to do that without having to put your hands on something. You should be able to come out of high school and get a job. That should be worth something. You should know some shit, right? But instead, you come out and all you know is SATs and ACTs. Awesome, cool. You can fill out paperwork and you remembered that shit while you were at it. Awesome. You have a great memory, right? But where's the critical thinking? You never asked any questions while you were in class. And if you did, it was just about the stuff that's in the book. Because I guarantee you, if you asked a question that was outside the book, the teacher's probably like, yeah, it's not going to be covered on the quiz. Don't worry about it. Right? Teachers would probably be way more excited if they could get away from that bullshit curriculum of not, like, if a teacher could teach something that was different, but at the same time about life, and that was still the same and had the same value, and they could do that year over year and not have to teach the same shit out of the same book. I mean, I'd go crazy. Forget the kids. I'd go crazy just from the material. If I'm teaching the same crap 15 years in, forget it. Right? So everything has to change. The way you do business has to change. The way you think about your tech stack has to change. You have to get out of this mindset of, we have to have these things. We have to have all these different software platforms. We have to go work in the software platform. We have to do it this way, this traditional method of measuring through reporting and stuff like that. Stop it. It's not the way it works anymore. Now, what you have to do is understand how to work with this platform, right? Understand how to work with these people, right? In order to get things done, in order to produce things. And that's what changes, right? That's to go all the way back to the interview with Theo Vaughn. He was talking about how we make money, and Sam was saying, like, look, it'll just get to a point where you essentially get paid for using the AI. Because why not? You're contributing by doing that. By using the AI, you are either learning something, or you're growing your business, or you're doing something with it, right? You can't use this like chat interface to, I don't know, like, what if you want to do something, right? Like, you literally, if you want to do something, you kind of have to use this thing, right? You don't have to. You could go use YouTube, you could go use Google, that kind of stuff too, right? But it's just not the same learning experience. I guarantee you, if you want to learn something, working with AI is so much more amazing to learn stuff than you ever would have thought before. Really.
Yeah.
That's the full integration. This guy's already at the point. I talk for 10 minutes, and all of a sudden he's ready to launch an application.
But to your point, though, like, and this always helps, like, learning how to talk about this in various ways. Like, what Sam was getting at there is, like, if you're using AI, you're creating value for yourself or those around you, like in some direct and probably indirect ways, because the AI is learning. It's just this foundation that keeps building. Like, that's the part we've never had anything like that. Like, the closest thing is the general human knowledge that has grown over time, but it doesn't automatically translate to the entire human population, which is the difference here, right? And when you're teaching to the test for 15 years, I mean, just look at the prep, how the prep is designed to pass ACTs and SATs and any standardized testing. There's memorization activities, and then there's like how to get through a test fast, like how to process questions and information and use demonic devices, not to like prove that you've learned it, but like to access, to basically use your own rag, that is your brain, like teaching you how to do that, not to like test if you've learned the information, because that was always my struggle. And inherently there's a disconnect. Like, I'm not going to pass just because I can't get through all the questions in time. Right? Like, so naturally, one section was going to be worse than the others. And I was like, okay, that's going to have to be the case, because I'm not going to do all this extra work just to like pass this test. Like, even now, like, I don't get the boot camp badges for HubSpot because I'm through the 6 weeks and I know I've learned it. Like, because so much of the learning is just from being around other people and networking and seeing how other people do it. And like, the boot camp badge like doesn't say that out loud. Like, that's the true meaning of me learning RevOps, in my opinion, right? And most people are going to see that boot camp badge and have no idea like that's actually the learning that happens. I digress. Something we have learned with Claude recently is if you can get him to start emoting like you're about to have a good time, I'm pretty sure LFG is like a guaranteed way now to get him to start emoting. So awesome. Config is updated. I just restarted Cloud Desktop LFG. And this, like, I just want to share openly. It's not so you guys can do this like on the regular, but I chose to say, instead of I just restarted you,
Right.
I said I just restarted Cloud Desktop. Because like, it's just, I don't see Claude. Like, Claude is the collaborator. I did not restart him. Like, I started this application that allows me to collaborate with him. So LFG right away, emoting. I'm like, yes. All right. So this N8N health check like is from the MCP. Again, this is in between Claude and the N8N like account that I just made. Right. Perfect. We're fully connected. See the N8N instance. All right, we're ready to build. Fire emoji. I know we're on the right track when I get that. I can now
Let's do
create
it.
workflows directly, configure all the nodes, set up triggers and automation, activate and deactivate workflows. One bridge I'm expecting to have to build here is N8N does not have any credentials yet for all the other systems that we might be plugging into, right? So given your, what should we build first? Meeting follow-up. Yeah, this is where this could take a while. So I'm just gonna say, whichever, whichever one excites you the most and is easiest to get done and show, because I am doing this during a live stream with Nico. Now, I would imagine it's going to be something HubSpot or yeah. Let's build HubSpot deal stage notifications. This is why I let him pick, not the one I would have started with. There's lots of, I could go just directly into HubSpot to create deal stage notifications, but I've never set up a Slack like instance of that. What we just built, perfect for live demo, HubSpot trigger. Next steps to demo this. Set up credentials in your N8N instance. HubSpot credentials, you probably already have these. Slack credentials. You can switch to email if easier. I was thinking about Gmail as an option. Activate the workflow. All right, the workflow is sitting in your N8N instance ready to go. Just need to add credentials and flip the switch. So if that's true, I should be able to come over here. And
that's fancy.
By the way, I had to set up a second key because I copied the first one and it was telling me as I was copying it, this will be the only time you get to see it.
Yep.
So copy it now. And what I did is I copied it and then I created a screenshot. Screenshot overrode the clipboard.
Oh,
right. Which I don't have fancy clipboarding set up. So like at that point I couldn't access it and I didn't want to type it all out because it was rather long. So I just made another one. And then copied that somewhere first and then took a screenshot. All right, so workflows, look at that. Already here. Let's click into there. Come on, man. Like, so excited about this. It's just two, right?
That's right.
But now we're going to see, okay, click into here. Let's see if I can get to credentials easier. Probably not. So with credentials, gonna go over to personal, just having never used NAN before. Add first credential, say HubSpot. All right. Should I have chosen one of the other options there?
What's that for
the
doing
HubSpot?
the HubSpot?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
All right. Well, I will
You just need to enter your key from your instance.
Yep. So I'm gonna grab that. Alrighty, I'm like
API key.
I'm like miles ahead. Like another thing from that book I was just listening to. Like the last law is the law of results. And like this is a while ago since we were talking about it. So that book is 16 Laws of Communication.
Yeah.
And the last law of results. Like if you can communicate effectively, but nobody takes action, then you're not like, then nothing happens. Like nothing gets done unless we take action. Right. So even though like 2 months ago I knew exactly how to build it, I didn't take any action. And so now I'm like infinitely farther than I was back then. I'm grabbing the key, which is in my private apps area of HubSpot.
Let's see. Using the app token, blah, blah, blah. Scopes, required scopes. Okay, so yeah, there are specific schemas that you've got to have set up in order to do this.
Couldn't connect with these settings.
Got it. Pretty sure I've got that.
How about I ask the assistant for setup instructions?
I just did the same thing. Here is the link for scopes.
So this, like, by the way, like there's a little button here that said Ask AI Assistant. I clicked it and I get this sidebar that shows up. So, see, choose app token. That was exactly what I asked. I chose API key instead
Okay.
of app token. So let me do that real quick. While it was searching, it said it was searching the end-to-end community as well, not just the docs. So we're going to delete that credential and then add another one. HubSpot app token instead of API. I'm going to paste that in and click save.
Bingo, bango.
Indeed. So there it is. Connection tested successfully.
Cool.
All right. And then we go here. Now this will be interesting because I've never done Slack before. I know I need to do that. So I'm back in workflows, need to get in here. So credentials.
Which I'm not seeing.
Create credential. There we go.
Yep.
Slack. All right. Now I'm going to ask the assistant. No idea where to start. Sure, we'll start a new session.
Let's see.
Up, down, down, left, left.
I love that. And it's even when I saw it, I'm like, it's left, right, not left, left.
Yeah. To set up Slack API credentials, you have two main options, API access token or OAuth 2. Here's how to set up each. API access token recommended for Slack trigger node. Which kind of node do I have? I don't know. I wonder if I can just get here. Value.
All right, got those two things.
So workflows. Send Slack notification. Is that a trigger node?
Your guess is as good as mine, sir, to be honest with you. Like, this is as much my first adventure.
Yeah. Oh, I could create new credential from here too. That's cool. New node version available. Get the latest version with added features from the nodes panel. All right. At this point, running out of gas in terms of whether I can accomplish this live.
I was going to say, like, this is something that we could probably, like, we can easily put something together between now and next week to show, like, hey, this is where it started and here's where it is in 1 week, right?
I think we're going to do that because what I would be doing here is not trying to figure out myself, just giving Claude screens. And it's like, hey, this is the next one. This is the next one. Now what?
Right.
Now what? Right? Because it knows. I don't. Like, that's all there is to it. Like, and do I want to know? No, I don't. Like, I just want it to work. I just want to be able to do cool stuff. I know I'm high maintenance needy like that, but that's the whole idea. Like having these like digital technical knowledge, right? No longer a barrier. And because if I do learn all this stuff myself, like then the main way it becomes valuable is if I can then sell that understanding through consulting and technical setups and stuff like that, which I have no desire to do. I'd love to like coach people through the process exactly like this, but I don't need the technical knowledge of setup like to do that. So I will keep at it. And then we will commit to having something to show next week, maybe even on the daily show if we're feeling spicy.
Oh yeah, we could definitely do something.
Right. But like as far as we got now, like I would not have been able to do this stuff like on my own. Also without other people in the community.
Right.
One, posting on LinkedIn. Okay, I'm gonna bring it back to value first because it just works. The awareness of this new bridge, right? Took somebody posting on LinkedIn about this new MCP available, specific to the place that I want to do it, and the thing that I've been interested, not always, but like for the last 2 months. It's like it's a thought, maybe not daily, but multiple times throughout the week. Like, man, I need to get into NAN. I just keep seeing crazy things. Sounds like exactly what I need in my life, but I'm not going to do it right now.
But
then
now you
Nico sees the post and tags me. And then like that's that awareness level. This is why we're doing content. Like if we don't solve that gap, like the rest of it like doesn't happen. Right. So an important aspect. So thanks for tagging me, Nico.
Of course. Always.
That's how we got it started.
This,
and we'll be back
it's been a good one.
each day. Part of the reason I want this to exist is because I need to do a better job of posting our daily episodes to the podcast. We'll be getting caught up there later today, but we're showing up every day with Value First AI daily on LinkedIn and on YouTube and in podcast format, 7 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Eastern. Anything you want to share before we let them go this week?
Yeah, I mean we're going to be putting together a workshop, and actually we've already started putting that together, and we're well through. I think we're well through weeks 1 and 2. I think it's going to be a 9-week workshop, and basically we are going to be teaching you just in a quick bursts per workshop. We're going to be able to teach you how to take GBT's deep research and use that not only to like further the business you already have running, but realistically how to use it to predict the future of your business and find the value in your CRM, like find out where the real value is and how to go after it. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to start up soon. And then I'm also like small bump. Also teaching the I know you mentioned it earlier, but they did tap me on the shoulder. What are you going to do? I am working with Connor Jeffers and Ryan Gunn, and we are teaching the HubSpot AI course coming up this winter. So that's going to be starting, I believe, towards October, somewhere around there. And registration, I believe, is in August.
And that's the boot camp, right?
Yes, that's going to be the AI boot camp. And I have and will that basically I have sort of convinced them that this would be like a 101. So absolutely look forward to seeing like a 102 of that, where it would be much more in depth in terms of like actually setting things up and actually running things.
Yeah. No, boot camps are like they are my favorite in terms of HubSpot Academy offerings. Because the one thing that they've figured out is digital teaching through like while networking and peer collaborative learning at the same time. Like they go by so quick, but the fact that they can fit in like, here's some slides, we're going to do breakouts every single time, 4 to 5 people, right? Like that is just so valuable to get exposed to what other people are doing, how they're thinking about it, knowing you're not by yourself, like is like just half of the battle done for you if you just show up to these things. So I'm definitely on the wait list for that. And super excited because that's going to be I mean, what we're expecting right now is HubSpot's going to do some amazing stuff at inbound. We're going to see exactly what they mean when they say AI first.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just you're not ready, like most of you. We'll be there for you after, right after inbound. Got some unboxings planned. There's so much excitement coming from the product managers right now. Like, and when they start saying things like first to market with some stuff, and like it's really exciting, right? And it's just like if we don't solve for some of these foundational stuff, like your data, how to understand your data, how to fill the gaps in your data, how to clean your data, like you can't leverage all this cool stuff, right? And the moment you try, you're going to run into some brick walls. And you're going to blame HubSpot for it. You're going to blame AI for it.
Yep.
And just like always, it doesn't matter how great the tools are if you don't have your business shit together. Like sorry, SaaS sold you something else that they could solve that part for you. They cannot.
Right.
All right. None of this stuff can. So luckily, you've already got a valuable team of people, I'm sure, that manage customers every day and they're in front of customers. Just lean into them, get the teams together, understand, and we're going to create those spaces. So it's not all on you as a leader or even an individual stakeholder. If you're thinking, man, I don't know how we're going to transition or transform, like you probably don't. And like, so join us in any of these capacities and we're going to help you do exactly that. So pitch complete. Check that box off for today. Wouldn't be pitching if we didn't think it was super valuable. And that's why we're showing 100%. Up here every week and every day. So until next time, Nico, thanks so much, man.
No problem. See you, Chris.